Welcome back to the Essentially You podcast. One of my dearest friends ever in the whole wide world. Kerry, honey, how are you doing, girl? Honestly, like we're literally like wall to wall, or we're like next door to each other.
Yeah, you
Doing
thought we
this.
were wall to wall, but I'm on the opposite side of the house. So we're neighbors, and it's so cool because it's like you often become really good friends with your neighbors, but your best friends don't end up moving in, or some of your best friends don't end up moving in next door. So I think you and I, we're just so blessed raising our little babies all together and all that good stuff.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Our babies, if you guys have ever caught us together, either on a IG live or here on the podcast too, Carrie's twins are 9 weeks younger than Kingston. They're basically the same age at this
Yeah, they're
point.
basically the same age. Yeah, yeah.
And Carrie and I do so many things together, and she is such an inspiration to me. And we're talking specifically, we're going to be talking about her new book, her first book ever, I think, right? Which is One
Pretty
Thought
much. The
Away,
first
pretty
one I want
much.
to talk about.
And it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's the first time I'm seeing the cover for the first
I
time. Oh my God, it's
know.
so gorgeous.
Isn't it
Um,
nice?
and I mean, I think about you all the time because obviously I think about you all the time. But one of the things that I think about with you all the time, like anytime we're by the way, we're going through two courses together right now, Manifestation Babe Academy and Money Mentality Makeover. And we are constantly, both of us, as moms do, like we're getting where you fit in, listening to this content. Sometimes she's walking to the beach and maybe I can catch her at the beach if I can get there in time. We both have our
Yeah.
earbuds in. We're both listening to whatever module it is. And so I am constantly listening to content from the courses that we're in. And I'm always like, oh my God, I need to send this thought to Kerry. I'm like, we're
Yeah.
always voice memoing. But one of the things that it's always on my mind, especially in terms of a reframe and really coming from my vision self, is that I'm always one thought away from coming through my vision
Yeah.
self.
Yeah.
And
Good.
versus the default mode that we
Right.
can often fall into. And that's the power of the work that we're going to be talking about, is that it really is as simple as it is a practice.
Totally.
It's a
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
But I am always like, okay, one thought away, especially when it's crunchy, especially
Right.
when I'm in my stuff. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, one thought away, or especially when I'm about to try to get a snack at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, girl, you're one thought away. You're one thought away of going outside and listening to one of your courses or whatever and
Yeah.
walking down to the beach versus eating that half of that Hue bar or whatever it is that I'm about to like try to devour. And so
Yeah.
those are the times where I always think about being one thought away. How did this come to you? What was this download from? And how has it shown up for you? I mean, girl, you were doing the most. You were doing all the things right
Yeah.
now more than ever. And I know that
Right.
you are constantly gut checking with one thought away yourself.
Right. I really am. So thank you for all of that. And I love that it's in your head. It's in my head all the time too.
Yeah.
Okay. This thought or that thought. So just to put the foundation very quickly
Yeah.
for our friends here. So think of it this way, you guys. So you're one thought away from being happy today or not. You're one thought away from, like Mariza was saying, like being on track with your detox or your supplements today or not. You're one thought away from crushing it at work today or not, right? And so it's really interesting, the power of the mind. Like I feel like the mind is one of our, or is our most powerful tool, for sure, one of them. And most people just are not leveraging it the way that it could. I know that I wasn't when I was 50 pounds heavier, in my eating addiction, broke, like all the things, I've been in the industry 20 years now, so that's been cleaned up for a while, but I was in one thought away, but I was choosing the thought that was not serving me, that was taking me down a different path than I wanted the results for. And, they compound. One thought is going to compound into the next thought and the next thought and the next thought. And so getting in there and really reprogramming how you're thinking, setting down new and different neural connections in your brain to move into, okay, I really get that thought I was thinking yesterday is going to keep the weight on or keep my hormones imbalanced or keep me broke or whatever, to, okay, if I just, in that slippery moment of hesitation, I call it the slippery moment of hesitation, right? Where like everything in your life can start to change. And you either go into that old thought or you go to the new thought. And it sounds easy. I would say it's simple, but it's not easy, right?
Yes.
It's simple, but it's
Yes.
not easy, because we are so programmed to think a certain way. And even from our childhood, it's really been ingrained in us, stereotypical beliefs or labels, or girls like me don't have things like that, or my body can't heal, or I grew up on the wrong side of the track, or whatever the story is. And so it's just so easy to go back into the old thought. And so what we do in the book is we break it down in a really cool way so that the reader, our friends, have processes that they can apply from the book, apply it immediately, and start to get some real shifts, like real transformations right away. And it doesn't have to take 20 years of therapy. Not that therapy is bad. We all love therapy, but like it doesn't need to take 20 years of therapy, right? Like there's stuff we could do right now to start to have a different result today.
I agree with you 100%. And I just really hope that that's soaking in everyone listening right now, is that transformation doesn't have to take a year. It doesn't have to take a month. It doesn't have to take 10 years. Now, do some things take a minute? Yeah, it's all relative. But I want people to understand that transformation can happen like that. And what I love about One Thought Away is I feel it's very, and it's different than this, but I want to, how powerful it is as far as I'm concerned, is I don't know if you ever saw, I don't know if it was Mel Robbins, it was her TED Talk or it was her book where she has the 5-second rule where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Because so often people are just stuck and they don't, either it's imperfection or it's a lack of worthiness or it's a lack of motivation, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. And it feels so much like that. Like this is a tool of being, okay, I'm in this, like, okay, one thought away, this or that. Like I had to check myself today. I had a really crazy, heavy training workout and I woke up tired. And I got myself to the gym and to my personal trainer. And I was like, okay, I'm showing up to be strong because I have no idea what kind of brutal hot mess situation he's going to put me through. And it's immediately starts off and I don't like it. I'm like, oh, I'm not, I don't like anything about any of this. Like, and I was just like, okay, mindset, one thought away. Like you're strong enough to do this. You are strong enough to get through this. You are strong enough to not even get through this workout, but to thrive as best as you can. Like be able to be steady and consistent throughout it. Like you're not taking massive breaks or anything like that, because it's the kind of workout where he expects people to have to stop for a minute and collect themselves. Like I do a lot of emotional walks during the workout because I got to get myself back together in order to get into the next round. And I just kept thinking, I just kept hearing it one thought away of like, okay, you've got this, you can activate this, you are stronger. Awesome. You again. And this happens so much, especially in those hard moments where your default is just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just not going to give my all. I am too tired. I am a mom who didn't sleep enough last night. You know, the thoughts become like this tornado. Like, and they start to cycle you in the wrong direction, in a direction that doesn't serve you. There are moments like this for so many of us all day throughout the day. Like everybody.
It doesn't matter what your age, what your economic status, your political status, your whatever status. Like there are moments like this, thousands. Research shows, Mariza, I don't know if you know the latest one, but research shows that we have 80,000 thoughts a day and 60 to 70,000 of those thoughts are usually negative. So it doesn't matter if you're a teen. It doesn't matter if you're about to turn 100. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, unless you've done this heavy work, which doesn't have to feel so heavy, right? And I think that's part of the piece that you're getting at too, is like, what if it wasn't about just surviving? What if it was about thriving? And I didn't mean to interrupt you on your story. It's just like, but it's important for all of our friends here to really get, right? It's happening to everybody.
All the time, every day,
all the time.
Every day is a new opportunity. Well, and today I was telling you, and I even debated, I was like, do I even need to tell Kerry that I don't have a nanny today, and our days just like, And I remember walking in because I was feeling the fact Alex and I are swapping, and it's just messy because both of us have meetings all day long, literally back to back. We're playing hot potato with our son. And what I always say before I hop onto a podcast interview is, I'm here to show up to serve. I'm here to show up to serve. And most particularly to show up to serve you and everyone who is listening right now, because I want to be able to capture the most of your brilliance so that we can broadcast it into the world. It's always that mindset shift. We actually took a break because I could hear my screaming son downstairs for like 8 minutes. I was like, what is going on down there? And finally,
Right.
because obviously you're his auntie, you were like, you know what? Why don't you go and check on
Yeah,
him
it's no big
and
deal.
see what's
Yeah.
going on? But normally I would have just kept going, and it just worked out. It was so serendipitous that you were here. But those are just moments just today. I'm just giving examples of
Right.
today of how it's coming up for me of that practice. And unless you are consciously choosing one thought a day, like it's in there, it's a practice, it is so easy to skew towards those negative thoughts that, by the way, do not rule you. You are not your thoughts.
Right.
It can feel that way, and unless you have tools like this, it really can go that way too.
Right. And one thing that's really helpful around this is knowing that you're not alone. Oh, I'm not the only one that keeps going back into my negative thought cycles. I'm not the one that seems to get off kilter with my emotions right away. Like, oh, wow, like the book is showing because there's a lot of storytelling in here. So it's very relatable, right? And so it's like, oh, I can see how that's impacting me too. Oh, I've done that, or I do still do that, and I can see how in that story that person turned it around, or if it was one of my stories, how Kerry turned it around. And if they can turn it around, why not me? Right. But here is something that I will say. It may sound simple. Like we said, it may sound simple, one thought away, but it's not always easy. And the other thing about this is consistency is important, right? Because like you shifted right before this interview, this podcast, you shifted. And what we now want to do is like lock that in, right? So for any of us, for me too, it's like, okay, when I have the mindset shift, I then want to take the next effort, right? I want to make sure that I'm focusing and putting my energy towards that next effort in regards to not just having like a boom, short term hit of relief, but I now want to shift who I am so that I can get that relief faster next
Yeah.
time and then continue to catch myself so that, wow, I'm noticing I'm not really thinking negatively anymore. Like my glass is not only half full, it's freaking overflowing now. And that takes consistency, right? It really does. So yes, it's a simple ish concept, and it does take work. And it's amazing. Like one thing that you and I talk about all the time is we do have these different buckets in our life. We're both career women running significant businesses. We're both mamas. We both have active social lives. Like we are in relationships, like, but we are the common denominator. And this is for all of our friends here too. And so when we focus in on ourselves, which is one reason you and I are in multiple personal development programs together too. Like we're constantly the student. And so when we up level ourselves, wow, look at all these other areas in my life naturally went to the next level. And it's not that I had to seriously buckle down and focus on that one thing. It's I focused on up leveling my mindset mastery, my emotional mastery, my relationship to myself, becoming and staying present. And then we're constantly working on learning how to sustain that transformation. So it's not always a dance from ground, square one. It's a building upon the work you've already done. Right. And that's one thing that the book really does help. It's like, okay, it's not just about feeling better today or feeling better in this moment, or it's like, okay, this is who I get to be now. I get to be a person who is success oriented, who magnetizes money, who magnetizes abundance, who can truly believe I can have anything that I want. That's a core piece that we might want to talk into. Just this really, really believing, of course it's going to happen for me, right?
Mm.
And this is something you and I are in constant conversation around all of the time.
Let's dive into that, because
That's
this
juicy.
becomes a broader, again, more juicy conversation. One of the things I was telling Alex last night was from Amanda Francis about how these limiting beliefs that we have, like, oh, I just don't get to have the partner, or I'm not going to find the perfect person, or given how I was brought up, like money isn't for me. And she's
Mhm.
like, with the chalkboard in the sky, like, did someone write out,
Right.
whether it's source or God, on a chalkboard in the sky that, Sarah he's never going to have more than this much money. And she's like, absolutely not. Like,
Right.
where was that written? The only confines that we're putting on ourselves is what we're believing. It's that sabotage. And she's like, no, there's nowhere. God did not write on a chalkboard. Like, is you have to just gut check it. Like, is this really true? Is this
Right.
actually true? And when you think about it, no, why would that be true for me? Why
Right.
does that have to be true for me when it can anyway? So let's speak into, what does it look
And
like?
before we go in, it
Yes.
is when we just stop and really think about it,
Yeah.
we do get to have a little giggle, right? If we can stay the witness to all the craziness we allow ourselves to think and the craziness we allow ourselves to emote, and we go, wait, yeah, there wasn't a chalkboard in the sky that said I can only feel so good in my body or I can only have so much money. Like it's ridiculous. Like when we say it like that, it sounds so silly to think that that could have even been a possibility. That it also gets to bring a little lightness to a conversation or a difficult journey to get a certain result. Like it allows us to like exhale a little bit and have a little lightness. Like, yeah, of course, I call source God, but of course, God didn't make a mistake on the day that I was born, or of course, I didn't have this like, you can only make so much money or you can only feel so good in this lifetime. And so it puts it into context, right? It
Mm-hmm.
helps put it into context.
It does. It definitely did for me. I always think about how many pictures on your phone do you have of the twins, right? A
Oh my
gajillion,
gosh,
I
who
think.
knows? Yeah.
And pictures of them on the wall or maybe by the bedside and
And Grayson,
and
yeah.
Grayson too, absolutely. So I was just because the babies. And yeah, they're right there. Oh, it's
My
so
all my babies,
sweet.
like all my babies, I'm always surrounded with my babies. They're like,
Aw.
you're one thought away. As you know my story, I had Grayson at 42. I had the twins at 48, right? Like you're one thought away. You're one thought
Mm-hmm.
away from saying, you know what? That dream is way too important to me. There's no way I'm going to let that dream go without making it happen in this lifetime. There's no way.
Absolutely. Well, and I was thinking about how if people, anyone listening, if you believe in God or source or and a higher being, and you're thinking that there's a lack of worthiness, you have to think about how God or source is looking at you. Is kind of like how you would be looking at your babies in their pictures next to your bed. That's kind of how it would be. And so, in terms of you coming down, being here on this beautiful earth planet and getting to live this life that it's all available to us,
Yes.
whatever we want. And yes, we've gone through traumas, and yes, there's people who've gone through terrible oppressions, and they have had just terrible things happen where those beliefs are locked or feel like they're locked in. And it can be so hard to kind of see past that because our brain is trying to do such a good job of keeping us safe.
Right.
And it's not always working in our favor. But we have a way, we do have that ability to reframe. We do have that ability to heal. We do have that ability to shift our belief around things. And if it means
Right.
you kind of just imagine yourself with a chalkboard that says like, hey, guess what, I can have anything that I can imagine. Like I can open the door to whatever it may be. I can come through as the person I want to become. And that's
Right.
exactly what we're going to talk to us about, is kind of how we can get there. Because I get that, yes, on a philosophical level, people can be believing what we're saying is true, but I know that there are steps and practices to actually get us to
Yeah.
operate in that capacity.
Right. And you know what? I appreciate that you brought this up because I had one client at one time, and I will go through the steps, but I had a client at one time who said, so it just feels really weird. Are you telling me to lie to myself and just like basically fake it till I make it? And I'm like, no, I'm inviting you to live into the projection of the woman you want to be and the life that you want to have. And that's different, right? Because that's not like being out of integrity with
Mhm.
yourself or lying or whatever. It's about getting clarity on who do I want to be and what do I want my life to look like. And then start to really visualize like what in your mind, start training your mind to see that as the life that you have and feel what it feels like to have that life now. What would a woman who has an 8-figure business, what would she be thinking today? How would she be
Mhm.
feeling about that? What actions would she be taking, right? You start to be that woman or be that business person or be that person now. And then what happens, because consistency, even 1% a day, I mean, 1% a day is 365% shift in a year, which is insane. And so it is or it isn't insane. I guess that's a mindset. But so then it's really about like, okay, like what would I be doing now if I had that life already? And you start to live into the projection of already having it, right? So it's completely in integrity. It's nothing like you're not in integrity or lying or something like that. But so with us, we have the one thought away. So the book is called One Thought Away. And then we have the one thought away process. And it's a 5-step process. And we help map it out in the book as well. But I already touched upon it a little bit, but number one is that mindset piece. Like the mindset mastery piece is critical. Otherwise, just like you were saying, Mariza, you go back into the old way of thinking. And it happens in that slippery, hesitant second, right? So, and then number two is the emotional mastery. How do I start leveraging the energy of my emotions to work in my favor and not work against me? And we go deep into that. 3 is relationship to self. So how have I set my life up to, number one, give myself permission to know it's okay to take care of myself. Self-care is not selfish. And what are the boundaries that I have? How am I protecting my energy and my time? So that what we find with our clients and what I found with myself is I start to get more done with less effort and time and energy. Right. And
Amen to
it's a
that.
Amen. It's like you collapse time, right? Like you start to just become uber effective. Not like we have to be super women, we can take the S off. It's not like that. It's just that you start to really believe in a different way of being and possibility and production, personally and professionally. The fourth one is becoming and staying present. And so with this step, what we do is we learn to let go of the vices. For me, it was emotional eating. That's why I was 50 pounds heavier. I checked out, escaped, and numbed out with it. That was my vice. So when I was in my heightened addiction with my vice, we didn't have social media because it was a while ago. But now there's other things like people are addicted to social media. So social media could be one, or online shopping, or it could be drinking, or it could be overworking. That's a vice. But how are we checking out, escaping, and numbing out and not being present here and living the life that we want to be living because we're living in the past or we're living into a future, which is usually worry. And so if we're focused on the past or the future, we're not living here. So we get to live here, we get to be that next wonderful version of us, and then we can heal the past, learn from the past, which doesn't need to take a lot of time, and create these extraordinary futures. Like you and I talk about all the time. Like we're clear where we're headed. We
Mhm.
have big futures ahead of us and 7 generations ahead of us, right? Like we are very clear what we're doing. And then that fifth step is that sustain the transformation. One thing that I appreciate about the process and how we've mapped it out is we have mapped it out so that the brain can hook into it and it doesn't get overwhelmed and then stagnate and go into paralysis and do nothing. Well, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start when I can get it done perfectly. So we take you out of perfectionism and procrastination. We take you out of overindulgence. We take you out of overwhelm. We take you out of all those old ways of being that don't serve a lot of people. And we really like shed those so we can ground and anchor in here and say, okay, we're going to skill you up. We're going to give you skills so that you can get clarity on what you want. And then you can actually make it happen. Not because you're sitting on the couch praying it in or meditating it in. You get to have clarity and intention. But then we help with the inspired action to breathe into it from a place where it's not overwhelmed or it's not riddled in anxiety or riddled in stress or whatever else it is, right? It's really interesting. I mean, people get results fast, like really fast. And as soon as they start to even get one small result, that starts to reprogram the brain. Wow, if I got that result, maybe I can get another result. and you start to identify with yourself differently. I am a woman who has follow through. I am a woman who, or man or woman, I am a person who can have success. I can create results, right? And then it just starts to snowball, right? It starts to in your favor. It starts like, wow. I mean, you and I have been talking about this even recently, some of the stuff that checks in the mail where we've been like, okay, that was unexpected, right? Like a $10,000 check in the mail, or certain clients or stuff in our businesses, or you with your health and your health goals. It's been extraordinary. Like this works. This works. When you work it, this works, right?
Exactly. When you work it, this works. Just love that. And it's exactly it. Like you imagine yourself, your future, who you're going to become. I like to call it your future vision self, or because this is a women's health podcast, and this is all about mental health, mindset health. I mean, all of it. Like this is where it's at. Like we get
Yes.
healthy, so we get to do this.
Yeah.
But one of
Yeah.
the things,
So
right, gets
fun.
that next level. But one of the commitments I had told you earlier this year is I wanted to get into my best shape ever.
Right.
And how I imagined it is I imagined my future healthy self. And I
Mm-hmm.
imagined future healthy Mariza, December 31st, 2023. And it all worked out. I'm so grateful and thankful that I'm more toned. I've got more metabolic flexibility. I've got more energy. My brain is firing all cylinders. My labs look phenomenal. Right. And so every day I show up as, okay, what does that future self, what is she doing? How is she
Yes.
operating? How does she get up in the morning? What kind of workouts is she choosing? Is she choosing the walk over the snack? And so and so every day I'm making decisions from her, because what's so cool about it, these are second nature to her. She's
Right.
already there. She's there.
Totally.
She is
Yes.
that healthy version. And so if I'm operating as her, the choices, the thought, the
Right.
decisions, the habits, well, they're already locked and loaded. And it's
Right.
so much easier to make those decisions as her, coming through from her, than it is like trying to like wrestle with myself around
Yes.
it. So that's the power of it. And that's really the power that you're bringing in this book. It's how we can encapsulate and how we can know who she's going to be. Like, how do we, the questions to ask, the diving in? Because I know that there's work around that too. You can't just be like, oh, you know what, healthy version of myself. Like, you've got to know what that looks like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
and
so,
you got to put the effort and action behind it,
yes.
and so it's really important, the accountability. You're going to need accountability in place and all that stuff. Like you and I are accountability partners for many, many aspects of our lives. And so, yeah, so you get to have the clarity. So here's something. Okay, so
Yep.
I'm that girl who loves to study the brain. So, geeky or not, I love it. And
Mm-hmm.
so your brain is going to hook into some plan, right? Because that's what the brain does. And the brain usually wants to keep you safe. Like you mentioned this briefly before. So anytime we start to stretch outside what our brains know, it's like these alerts go off. Wah, wah, something's
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Here's unknown territory and unknown territory. And so then the brain kicks into high alert. Oh, something's wrong. I got to keep them sick. Got to keep Mariza and Kerry safe, or whatever it is, right? And so then it starts to slide back into the old pattern. And so, what we're doing here is we're training the brain to understand that uncertainty does not need to equate to pain. We're training the brain to understand that it is actually safe to stretch outside your comfort zone, to stretch into your next level of potential, and that change can equate to opportunity, right? And so you start to have a different relationship with uncertainty. You start to have a different relationship to the unknown, because everything we want is just outside our comfort zone. And so then, even if things like, even let's say, okay, you didn't have a nanny today, right? But there is a level of like, yeah, let me see how I can figure this out. Like, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
figure this out, and I'm going to crush this day. I'm going to slay this day, and I'm going to come out feeling incredibly on point. I'm going to learn something different about myself. And Kingston's going to have twice the love that he would have if the nanny was here, right?
Right.
Like, we
He
get
gets
to
both
like,
Alex and I all day long.
totally. And he's in heaven, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really about like, wow, what do I get to do with this? Right. And we can't control other people. We can't change other people, obviously, like in relationship or whatever. We can't control them, but we can certainly look at like what am I doing? How am I growing myself? How am I staying the student? How am I thinking? And how is my thinking contributing to what may or may not be working? And then from that place, you're going to make a decision again. So the brain is going to hook into a plan. And so what I say is we get to give it a plan that we really want to have, so that because whatever you cognitively believe, you're going to need to prove yourself right. Right. So if you believe that getting in the best shape of your health, or if one of our friends here believes that making money is never going to happen for them, or whatever it is, even while you sleep, your brain is going to be working to making that belief right. And so we want to be really, really careful. What plan are we giving our brains to hook into? I am very clear. I'm going to give my brain the plan that I really want to have for my life, because it's going to be working towards it all the time. Even when I'm not thinking about it, it's going to be working towards it all the time. And so when it's working towards it, it's influencing how I emote. It's influencing the actions that I take, on a, consistent basis. And those obviously would become my habits, and then that impacts my environment, my results. I mean, we've been teaching the one thought away process for the past 20 years, really. I've been in the industry for 20 years. We've been teaching it for 20 years. But then what we really looked at was like, or more actually, but what we did is when I say we, I say my team and I, because I believe my team this is just as much their book as mine. They're amazing. And so what we did is we pulled out this piece, because we said, what is the piece that will really, break the habits for our clients to really get that result that they want in their life, with their health, with their wealth, and with relationships. And that piece is the mindset piece. And it is that one thought away, and giving the brain just one thing to hook into, so it doesn't get overwhelmed and say, oh, this doesn't make sense, or, oh, I just can't do it, or whatever. Right.
I love it. I want to get into a little bit of practicality. We've talked about this before, and I'm going to use the example of snacksidents. Where, so
Did you
Alex
make that
says,
up? That's
I
so
know, I
cute.
don't know if I know we've read it somewhere else, but Alex was using it the other day in one of our emails as a snacksident.
That is
And
so funny.
and
Love that.
snacks, they happen, they go down, you know
They
what I'm
do.
saying? There
They
happens,
do.
somebody is listening right now, and it happened today. And like,
That's
let's say you guys
hilarious.
all know where the snacks are, you guys all know where the goodies are in your house, and what's for the kids and what's not for you technically, but you know where they are. And there's these moments, right, where we had a stressful day, we're overwhelmed, we got off a crappy call, or we're just feeling tired and under resourced, and we just need a little something, right? And one of the things we talked about was okay, that one thought a day, right? Because there's other ways that we can optimize energy besides a snack. And honestly, if you choose a sugary snack, you're just going to get on the blood sugar roller coaster, and honestly, it's going to tank your energy anyway. So it's the opposite effect. And so we were talking about one thought a day of, having you open up that cabinet and there's a list of
Mm-hmm.
5 things that you can do
Mm-hmm.
instead of you reach
Yes.
for a couple of those chocolate, my son calls them choco cookies, chocolate chip
Yeah.
cookies, choco cookies. Reach for the choco cookies, and you can pick one. It could be air squats. It could be
Yes.
go take a walk. It could be listen to your favorite music. I want to dance with somebody by Whitney Houston. Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So let's say that, is there a recommendation around the practicalness of this, of sitting down and saying, hey, this is where I know these are my weak spots where I can fall victim to my thoughts or to
Yes.
whatever. So snacks are one, let's just say, or it is, getting up to go to the gym. I just, for some reason, like I can't get into the car. Or it is whatever it may be, can we preempt ourselves through
Yes.
journaling, through having these little lists that can be little reminders, little prompts for us to choose the thought that's going to move us in the right direction?
Yes, beautiful. Actually, we do a list of 5 exercise. It's
Mm.
not in the book. We do it as part of our Perfect Health Mastery program. So that's great, and that is a great tool. Let me explain a bit into
Yeah.
that. It's a great tool because what research shows is that that desire to have that snack, but to that energy behind wanting that snack is usually, unless it's physical hunger, then that is different. But if it's emotional hunger or something like that, it's like, what are you really hungry for, and why are
Yes.
you hungry? Well, I'm bored, or I'm fatigued, or I really don't want to go work out, or whatever that is. So that's part of the emotional mastery work we do. And so
Mm.
it's understanding that everything is energy, even your emotions, like Albert Einstein taught us. Everything is energy. And so and energy cannot be destroyed, but it will always get transmuted into something else. And so we actually do a list of 5 exercise with our clients about like having that pre-made before that moment that you want to go eat or snack or whatever, and choose one of those. And it's 5 things that you just love to do because you love to do it, not because you have to go do it for work or whatever, but love snuggling with the twins on the ground, or for me, I love to pray, or going for a walk down to the beach, or I'll call you or whatever. Like just 5 things I love to do. Then give yourself about 20 minutes. And somebody might go, 20 minutes? Like, oh my God, I could inhale 2 bags of choco cookies in 20 minutes. But just give yourself 20 minutes and go, okay, I'm going to go do this one thing off my list for 20 minutes. And then if I really still want that choco cookie, I'll go have one. Right. But in 20 minutes, your energy has usually shifted to something else. And if it's something like you're being active, like you're snuggling with the kids, or you're going on a walk, then that energy has already had another outlet to move itself out of you. Right. So the
Mm.
list of 5 I absolutely love. We did not include it in the book, but that's a great one. We have a lot from our program that we haven't, like another one though that didn't make it to the book, but it's also a very powerful one, is just I don't have one here with me, but just get a rubber band on your wrist, right? And every time you catch yourself having a negative thought, snap that rubber band and immediately replace it with a positive thought. And then what happens? And that sounds simple, but it's not always easy. Goes back to that again. But that's something our friends can do right from this podcast. They can do that right away. And it's not like I made that up. You guys have probably heard this in like 10 other places. But have you actually done it, right?
Yeah.
And done it
Yeah.
consistently for a period of time, so you start to form new neural connections. And
Mm.
what will happen is you're gonna realize, like, you'll probably realize, like, wow, I didn't realize I was thinking so many negative thoughts in a day. And then if you're consistent, you'll realize, like, wow, I'm catching myself mid snap, or wow, I'm catching myself before I need to snap now. And oh my gosh, I'm actually not snapping that much anymore. Right. But it does take that focus and energy and that
Awareness.
consistency, the awareness
Yeah.
and the consistency.
One of the things I've been doing, I haven't been snapping my wrist, but I've been, and it's an exercise that we learned in MBA, or sorry, Money Mentality Makeover, which is blow it up, to blow it
Yeah,
up.
that was, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that
And
she
it's
does it
kind of the
because you can
same
picture it.
concept. Yeah. You can kind of just blow it up. Like let's say you have a conversation, or you're having an issue with your partner, or you're not, you're not feeling appreciated, or whatever the
Right.
funkiness is, and you're in it, you're trapped in that kind of that mind spiral, that negative
Yes.
spiral. You get to just blow it up. You're like, you know
Yeah.
what, I'm gonna blow this up. Like, it's a redo, or
Right.
a restart in a way. And anything in our life, any moment in our life can be a redo or a restart, where we're just like, you know what, this is not how I want to show up. This is not how I imagine this going.
Right.
And I know that these thoughts aren't serving me, so I'm just going to blow this up, and I'm going
Yeah.
to reframe this. And
Yeah.
there's
It's
something about
awesome.
that too, whether you're snapping your wrist or you're blowing it up, whatever works for you. But
Right.
you get to
Yeah.
choose another thought, is really what it comes down to.
One thing we do have, which will be really powerful, because I think when you really want to change your thinking, when you really want to change your life, you get to start with changing how you think.
Yes.
And so it's important to have it just even in your peripheral vision, like wherever you are all the time. So at the end of every chapter, what's really cool is we have something called printables. And so at the end of every chapter, it's not a worksheet, it's a printable. Like there is a printable that you can download. They're really pretty, they're really nice. And it pulls out, for each chapter, it pulls out the common beliefs to disrupt, and
Mm.
then it pulls out the lessons to learn from disrupting that common belief. And so what's really cool is, like, you can print those out, and then put it in the pantry, put it on the refrigerator, put it where you do your snack attacks or whatever.
In your
Put it
bathroom when you're brushing your
in,
teeth or where you see it every day.
yeah, where
Yeah.
you see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know my house well. Like I have stuff all over my house,
Mm-hmm.
which is always keeping me in this conversation all of the time. And so the principles are super, super cool and
I
they're
love that.
very helpful.
I love
Yeah.
that so much. Oh my gosh, there's what I love about this is it's not just I love the one thought away concept because again, simple yet again practicing it
Yes.
and it's starting to shift the mindset which then moves you into an ascension of really stepping into the person that you are trying to become and the life that you really want, right? The life of your dreams. That's what this is all about. And
Right.
what do you have to lose? Right?
Right.
Right? And
Why
so
not be all in? It's not like we came to this planet. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm here because I want a plan B life. I'm opting into a plan B life. Like, why would we ever opt into a plan B life unless we didn't think we deserved anything better, or we didn't know how to get it, or we didn't know how to dream what we wanted, right?
mm-hmm.
There is a visualization that comes with the book at the end of chapter 2, I think, right in the beginning, that helps people start. Because some people, I mean, you know me, I talk to thousands of women. And
Yes,
there's
you do.
more women than you would believe that are like, I don't even know what I want.
Oh
I've
no.
been
Yeah.
concentrating on my kids for decades. I'm so disconnected. I don't even have a dream. And so that visualization at the end of chapter 1 or 2 is super helpful so that our friends can start to get clear on what do I want? And oh my gosh, I actually don't want that. That's what my mother-in-law wanted for me or whatever, right? And you get to get clear of what do I want.
Yes.
And so we help you get that vision right from the get go. And then the principles are super helpful throughout the book. Those principles are helpful. And then, we teach like thought swaps, which is like flipping perceptions. I'm not good enough. Well, what if you were? And what if you were?
Mm.
What if this could be easier than you ever thought?
Girl, that's my
Right.
favorite one. That's my favorite one, right? Because I grew up with the belief that if it you don't get it unless it's really hard. You don't get to have it unless you really had to work for it. I was talking to my mom about this the other day, and she's like, wait, is that like a 9 on the 0 to 10 scale of hardness? Unless it's a 9 or more, I don't want it. Like I was talking to this about her
Yeah.
because I'm like, how often do you only sign up for the ridiculously hard things, right? The ridiculously hard
Right.
relationship or whatever it is. I'm like, what is, she's like, yeah, I know if it's a 6, I can't, I'm not doing it. I'm not available for it. And I was like, yeah, but what if, and we were joking around, you were having a lot of fun with this, but I was like, but what if, mom, what if it gets to be so easy? What if you're
Yes.
only available for the zeros? And she's just like, all right, okay, okay. And I was like, wouldn't that how good would that feel? Like, let's just like feel into that of like, you know
Yes.
what? If it's a 0 through 2, am I even going to do it? It's going to be that easy for me. And
Yes.
it's
That's
such a
so good.
mindset shift and it's so powerful. And so I'm very available for, yes, we're doing this and it gets to be so freaking easy to do
And fun.
and fun. Oh yeah.
Right?
And so
Yeah,
fun.
it's fun. So, as you know, I just recently did a women's retreat with some of my clients. And and you know this, I've never taken them to axe throwing or a smash room before, but
I
we did a
love the
smash room.
smash room.
It was
Love it.
crazy. It was so
I would
wild.
have destroyed that room.
Yeah, well, a lot of my clients did. It was so funny. Like clients in their 70s, just like, and,
All
just
that aggression.
releasing, just getting it out. And my women are, it's not like they're like they're not aggressive women, but it's just the human experience and
Yes.
holding it all in. And so, anyways, we had one woman we had multiple women, but there's one I'm specifically thinking about that said the exact same thing. She was saying like she had been trained to think success had to be hard, and having the life that she really wants to have it must be hard. And so she went into this, it's just training from her childhood, right? Usually between 3 and 8 years old. So she went into the smash room. She has her full protective gear, like the shield over her face, right? And there was a computer there, and not the monitor, the computer piece. And man, did she take that computer down, right? It's like somebody you would never expect. Like, you
So
think she's
good.
like a librarian or somebody. My mom was a librarian for 30 years, so I can say that. But like she was just like, you would never expect it. And she went into that smash room, man, and she got it out and she allowed herself to release. But it started also in how she was thinking. And I am safe to release my emotions that aren't working for me anymore. I am safe to retrain my thinking. I can do the thought swap on why does it have to be really hard? Like, why can't it be really easy? Like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm opting in for easy and fun
Mhm.
now, right? It
Mhm.
was amazing to see her after that smash room. Like she crushed it.
I love
She
it. I
crushed
love it.
it.
When I just think, yeah, it is that mindset shift. And the other thing about meeting so many women who don't even know what they love or don't even know, what fills them up, because they have been tending to everyone else. And, we get to discover this and we deserve to discover this. We deserve to live in joy. And here's the thing is that it gets to be on us to figure
Yeah,
that out
it
for
does.
us. No one's going to figure that out for us. For
Right.
it's got to be you. And it gets to be you more than
Right.
anything else. And that's what I really want to speak into of like, I know it's so easy for us to get into a victim story of like, oh, no one's helping me, no one's supporting me. Like I just feel like I'm doing it all myself. And we can really reframe that and really step into our power and say, hey, I get to own my story. I get to own how it gets to go. I get to own what I know I love to do and then step
Right.
into that. Also, you get to have an affirmation of everything's working out for me. I'm fully supported in every area of my life. So one of my favorite affirmations is
Yeah, you got that down.
ooh, girl, it's gotta be because my automatic brain wants to go into look at you doing it all by yourself again. Look at you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's one of my favorite juicy. I remember I said that with my mom a month or two ago, and she was like, I'm just offended. I'm just offended by this affirmation. I was like, well, that instantly became your favorite affirmation right there.
That's hilarious. Yeah, cool. We talk about this too in the book. We talk about ownership. Like we get to own all the results that we're getting in our life and all the results we're not getting in our lives, right? And so we talk about that right from the get-go because ownership is a big part of this conversation. That piece, like for with coaching so many women who many women have been conditioned to be the martyr, put everybody else first, and maybe there's something left for me at the end of the day, but I'm going to put myself on the back burner, right? Like so we call it the martyr or maybe the victim and maybe and at being and so let me say this, some people have had horrible things done to
Yes,
them and they're
100%.
yeah, and we are not saying you haven't, and we know that whatever happened and you are stronger than that thing. That's what I'm going to say for sure. And it doesn't mean you called it in or there's a whole thing around this, but that's like a whole nother podcast, right? But what I will say is this conversation about ownership is meant with us in our community in this One Thought Away book. The conversation about ownership is actually to put you in a place of empowerment, right? And so, because what we say is when you start to realize that you get to own the results you have and own the results you don't have, what you do is you actually put yourself back in the driver's seat of your own life. And you start to say, yeah, I'm unavailable to having anything less than boom, 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 and boom in my life anymore. I am unavailable. And again, we can't control other people, but we can control our thoughts. And we can be in a very empowered relationship to our emotions. And we can control our actions, which become our habits. Like there is a lot that we can control. There's some things we can't, but there is a lot in regards to how do we can we can have great influence on how we respond to a situation, even if maybe we couldn't control how somebody was or what they did to us. We can control how we're in relationship to that experience and what we're going to do from here, right? So we do go into that in the book, and I think it's really empowering because it really does help shift any victim mindset or perspective or energy or martyr energy or perspective or stance, right? Because who wants to go for the rest of our lives, even if you've had horrible things happen to you? Do you really, I mean, we can easily live to 100 these days if you take care of your health and everything. It's like, okay, do I really want to stay a victim for the rest of my life? Or do I really want to continue to think that there's only hopefully there's a little bit left for me at the end of the day? Do we really want to have that perspective on our life for the rest of our life? No, I mean, I imagine most people don't. If there's something that, let me say this, if we do choose to stay in a mindset that is not serving us or a way of being that is not serving us, it's because there's some payoff, right? And so the three payoffs that I see happen a lot, I've worked with thousands of women. The three I see a lot are look good, play safe, or be right. And I learned this from one of my mentors many years ago, Michael. Look good, be safe, or be right. And so if we're continuing to think thoughts that aren't serving us, which lead to actions and habits that probably aren't serving us, why are we staying there? Right? Like, let's take this snack, for example. So if we know that this snack is not going to serve us with our goals for our health, why do we keep doing it? Right? And so you either get to look good, play safe, or be right. And so what could that be? Well, if I keep snacking, then my insulin keeps spiking, and then the weight stays on, and my hormones are crazy. And then I get to say, see, my health can't change. It works for everybody but me. See, I've been right. This is what I've been saying my whole life. Right? Or, for example, let's say you're scared of being more visible. Right? And so if you have extra weight on you, like I had 50 pounds on me, right? And so maybe it's actually a form of protection. So the snacks are actually, if we pull back layer by layer and layer of the story, well, the snacks are keeping the weight on me, which actually makes me feel more protected, because when I go out in the world, I'm not attracting as much attention as I notice I attract when I'm 50 pounds lighter. Right? So then the payoff of the snack, even though intellectually you don't want the snack's not helping your insulin levels, the snack's not moving you towards your annual goal, there's a payoff for staying in the thoughts and the actions of that habit, right? And so it's very, very hard to shift a habit or shift how we're thinking about something unless we get really intimate with what is it costing me to continue to be loyal to the payoff. Wow, it's costing me a relationship. It's costing me letting somebody close to me, whether I'm 50 pounds heavier or not. It really doesn't really have to do with the weight anyways. Usually it's just about you allowing it, take the walls down away from your heart, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and connected. What does it cost me? It's costing me my health. My lab work is still not good. My doctor is now saying I need this, and Dr. Mariza is saying this, and this, right? Like, maybe there's other health risks happening because you're not stopping the snack, but you're not stopping the snack because there's a payoff. And you just need to peel back the story and see, well, what's really going on here? So payoff and cost is a really big piece that we talk about. It's really important.
I just love, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I know the book is coming to print right very, very soon.
You guys are some of the first people to know.
Yay.
Very first people to know. Yeah.
And you've got a sweet little gift where we're going to get the first chapter. We're going to get a little extra bonus. I'm going to have the link for that so you guys can go and download. And then is the 9th and the 10th, correct? On Amazon.
Well, May 9th is the big day we would love everybody to go. Yeah.
So May 9th and May 10th, it's going to be available on Amazon for like $4.99. We can all grab it for right?
99 cents.
Yes.
You guys,
yay.
Please go. It's in honor of Mother's Day for all of our mamas and aunties and grandmas and caregivers and all, just women in general. Just, this book is for all of us, and 99 cents. So I had a client say, well, so can I buy this for as a Mother's Day gift for all the women I know? Like, can I buy 20 copies on Mother's Day and send it off? And I'm like, 20 for 20. Yes, please go do it. 20
yes,
for 20.
Please. Yes. Yeah. I was going to say, this is the perfect Mother's Day gift. And this is like, I just so grateful that you are launching it literally Mother's Day. You guys, again, you got a couple days, mark it on your calendar, go and get it. I'll
Yes.
have the link for everything. But it's literally next week, Mother's Day weekend. Go and buy extra copies. I love buying at least 3 copies of books like these so that I can gift them to my favorite mamas out there.
Cool.
And it's a beautiful girl. It's so beautiful. I'm so proud of you. And
Thank
I
you.
just want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I love you so much. You're a sister to me and
Mm-hmm.
raising our babies. And I also know you're a mama bear to your audience and your community, and you don't put anybody in front of them lightly. And so thank you for having me and sharing the message.
Thank you,
Yeah.
my love. Thank you. Love you.